Walking Dead New Frontier episode 4 comes out next Tuesday. We recently had the Star Wars celebration talking about all the new Star Wars stuff coming out, including The Last Jedi and obviously Battlefront 2. Dom, you wanted to talk about Star Wars some more, right?
So, real quick, I just want to say something real quick. Sorry to interrupt. I know I've already mentioned this on the podcast. I'm kind of going media black on a lot more trailers recently. Not watching any trailers for The Last Jedi. I don't want to hear a peep about Last Jedi.
We're not talking about Last Jedi.
No, I'm just saying, if
just
it's
in
like,
case.
if it's like, I'm really excited about this new Star Wars game because, and Kylo Ren, the new trailer is like all blah, blah, blah.
He's got to put his foot down and make sure.
I just got to say, I'm not going to be that all over the internet, but just on our podcast, if we could just not talk about that movie, that'd be great.
Well, I won't get into it, but I'll let you know that the Last Jedi trailer, I caved and watched it. There's pretty much nothing that it's basically nothing. It's just like a hype.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Sizzle reel.
I've seen a couple frames, and so I'm perfect on it right now.
But anyway, let's get into it. So we caught a leak of the Battlefront 2 trailer last week in our discussions. The full trailer since came out, and a bunch of information came out on the game. Not too much more than that we found out that we didn't already know. They're going heavy on the campaign. No season pass, but they said they're going to figure out something else that's better. I don't know what that means, but
well, if it's like they do with the fucking BioWare games, where it's like no season pass, but we'll just charge you, that extra $5 to buy the DLC individually.
Well, their reasoning was they didn't want to segment the multiplayer community. So that there won't be separate maps or something. It'll probably be like cosmetic microtransactions or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Also written by Mitch Dyer, or partially written by Mitch Dyer, which is cool.
Yeah, the story?
Yeah, Mitch Dyer is writing it. Yeah.
So real quick, since we're on the topic of this Star Wars game, I definitely feel like the fact that you're playing as a female in the story is kind of, they're pushing that. I mean, obviously, like Marvel, like all the heroes now are either gender swapped or racial swapped, and they're trying to really push that diversity thing. It seems just like the mainstream big movies and media is trying to do that right now, and I feel like I'm totally cool with it. Obviously, I can't wait. I love playing as Aloy and love playing Gravity Rush as Cat, blah, 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 but it definitely feels like this is part of that,
Yeah, but also think about how many Star Wars games you've played as a woman. None. So I understand where you're coming from.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're trying to build up the portfolio, so in a few years it can be like, well, now we have 3 or 4 games where you play as a woman. We got a few movies where women are the stars and stuff.
Also, I think too is we're not gonna, without spoiling it, if you've never seen Star Wars, I doubt this person is going to be in the next Battlefront game based on the way the story is shaping up, right, and where it takes place and everything. I highly doubt that the next game will be her as the protagonist. You can also assume too, Visceral and Respawn might have games where it's like more RPG where you create a character so you can create a female or male. I just think that the writers were like, hey, we can write a Star Wars story, and it's hard enough to fit a story into the canon, right? And you probably have a lot of check marks you have to meet. Make sure you don't mess with this, make sure you don't mess with this. But they're like, how many Star Wars games have you played as a girl? None. And I think it would, personally, my gripe is, it would have been cool to me if you didn't play as a human. I don't really care about the female-male thing too much, but it would have been interesting if it was a different race. But yeah, I'm super stoked for it. I understand where you're coming from. It's like you can obviously see that this is a diversification move, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is kind of obvious, So
just like I was saying, the movies are starring women, and then or just Marvel, Thor's female, Captain America's black. You can see it across the board if you just look at media, but that doesn't make me any less excited. And watching that trailer, the story parts of it is very cool when they walk up in their elite trooper suits with the black and red and talk about you weren't supposed to know we were coming or whatever. And I'm super pumped to be able to play as a hero of the Empire, essentially, and someone who's trying to retake the glory of Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, it's bringing levity to the dark side, which is cool. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, no, so I like the fact that you're playing as a female too, and we can get into it another day. But there's a lot of merits when people gripe on diversity for diversity's sake, but I think like it's actually a good thing to spread it around. But anyway, that's a good topic for another day. We'll get into that deeper some other time. But I don't want to focus too much on just this game. It made me think of, well, you know what? There hasn't been that many Star Wars video games that I've played, even though there's hundreds that exist. So I just want to like
hundreds?
Rattle off. Hey, there has to be, right?
I don't know about hundreds
800
officially
maybe?
licensed.
I think there's at least 40.
Hyperbole.
I would
yes,
say
yes.
50.
There's
Yeah,
lots.
definitely.
It's a phrase. Anyway, so I'm just like thinking back, like, oh, what are some of my favorites? So I missed some of the big ones, like Rogue Squadron. And I never played for the GameCube. I think it was, except for the arcade version. Was pretty cool, but mostly the limited experiences I have were the first two Battlefront games, which I think the very first Battlefront game has to be my favorite. I'm just gonna put that out there right at the front. Me and my brother probably played hundreds, and that's real hundreds this time, of hours of that game. Just versus each other, couch co-op. We just play over and over again against each other. Tons of hours of fun that I put into that game. The second one was a much better game, but it was kind of past that phase for us, I guess. So we didn't put as much time into it. It doesn't mean as much, but those games were fantastic. The pod racing game for the N64, that one was another one we played a whole ton. Not as much as Battlefront, but it was fun. It managed to take a cool part of one of the few cool parts of the Phantom Menace and turn it into a fun video game. Otherwise, of course, played most of the Lego Star Wars games when I was younger. And then I remember going into Family Video. We had rented, Lego Star Wars a bunch of times already, and we had beat it to completion. Me and my brother and my friends, we had beat it 10 times over, right? And this was around when Revenge of the Sith came out, and the Lego games were, of course, rated E for everyone, and the Revenge of the Sith, like, official movie game was rated T. So we had to talk my parents into letting us rent the T-rated game.
I know that feel.
Yeah, I don't know how old we were at the time, but it was a big deal. So our parents succumbed to our demands and let us rent that one. And of course, if I played it today, I would probably tell you it's the jankiest piece of shit game ever. But at the time, having adored that movie, I saw Revenge of the Sith 3 different times in theaters. That was like my world, right? So playing the game. It was really cool, and it did one novel thing of it let you choose to play as Obi-Wan or Anakin at the end, so you could actually be Anakin and beat Obi-Wan in that last fight.
I like you.
Right, and then that would be the end. It's like, well, can you imagine what would have happened? But it's just a cool thing that I thought it was cool they added. So that's really all the Star Wars games I think I've ever played. So you guys got any? I never touched the Force Unleashed ones, so I don't know what you guys got on that, but go for it.
So go ahead, Jared.
Jared, go ahead, Jared.
Okay.
After you, sir.
So I played the first Battlefront a whole ton. Battlefront 2, I played the PSP version, which we were talking about before the show. Played that a whole ton, but it was a compromised version, in the words of Michael Huber. Also, I played Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2. The Lego Star Wars games were my first introduction to what we now call the Lego games.
Okay.
So
I'm sure they were for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Lego Star Wars original trilogy Lego bundle or whatever was the first time I played the Lego games as we know them, so that was fun.
Lego really cool. City on my PC, baby. That was a long ass time ago.
Yeah, and there's tons of older Star Wars games that I never touched, like Rogue Squadron and a bunch of stuff that like you said, there's so many Star Wars games that were before our time or we just never got around to. Two things that I wanted to mention. One of the coolest Star Wars games that never happened, Star Wars 1313. Like, everything you see of that game looked so amazing and it looked so cool, and hopefully we get touches of that with Visceral and Respawn's games. The other game that I want to talk about is basically the biggest blue ball moment to me, personally, in video games.
Besides 1313.
You'll see what I mean by this, though. Because we never got anything super official with Star Wars 1313, This was at E3. When they roll out the red carpet, they come out on stage, like, we want to show you this new Star Wars game. The Old Republic. You get this trailer, the CG trailer, which is amazing. Like, that's one of my favorite video game trailers ever. Like, as far as CG trailers. Super cool. They're like, it's an MMO coming to PC, and I'm just like, cool, it's dead to me.
Yep.
It's like completely dead to me. I
remember that exact moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All my friends were watching E3. I'm like, oh, this looks so cool. Love the story. Love everything they're doing. And then it's like, it's an MMO. And I'm like, well, I could care less. I couldn't care less.
Star Wars 1313 had a gameplay trailer, right, though? Because I've seen that gameplay.
Yeah, no. I don't think it was ever... Maybe, but it wasn't announced at E3.
No, because I remember an official logo fading in and stuff.
I don't think that was at E3, though. I could be wrong. But
maybe not at E3, but I feel like that game was officially revealed. I'm just saying as far as blue ball moments and man, Old Republic, every time those Blur trailers come out for a new expansion, it's a blue ball moment. I'm like, God damn, these yellow fucking lightsabers are killing me. I want to be doing that. I want that story. I want those cutscenes. But I mean, the cutscenes in the game don't look anything like that, of course. Unfortunately, they would if they were like a modern console story game, like Battlefront 2 or whatever. But yeah, it definitely sucks.
Okay, so I just real quick, I went to the Star Wars 1313 wiki page, and I was wrong. The game was officially revealed at E3 2012 the following month.
I thought so.
Yeah,
I thought it had a reveal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it had a reveal thing in 2012, and then obviously in 2013 it was announced that they ceased internal development on all LucasArts projects. So that's what happened with Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, and dude, I bet there were some badass games just getting started around there.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting some good stuff. Hopefully, we can finally see what Visceral and Respawn's working on. But I just wanted to mention, we're talking about our favorite Star Wars games. Star Wars 1313 is my favorite game that I never got a chance to play from everything I've seen. And then Star Wars: The Old Republic is those CG trailers. They're so good.
Oh yeah.
They could be their own movies. Blur, just make a Star Wars standalone Old Republic movie. I
know, man.
Deflating the air from a balloon, dude. Deflating the air from a room. All of my friends, I'm telling you, we're sitting there watching E3. Everyone is getting excited. My friends are huge Star Wars guys. The moment that they say it's an MMO, everyone's just like, well, let me know when the next thing pops up on E3 because this is dead to me now.
This is going along right with what you're talking about, Jared. I'm once again seeing into the future with my crystal ball, and I'm seeing the fact that people talk a lot about these DC movies and oh well, the animated movies are great, but the live action universe is shitty. Well, and then people talk about how we're going to get a Star Wars movie every year for the rest of our life. Well, I'm looking into the future, and I'm seeing a few years from now where we're getting just kind of like how we have every few months a DC animated movie in the same universe. And maybe it's 3D animated, maybe it's 2D animated, whatever. But I'm totally thinking that we'll be getting a lot more stuff like that. They just announced some animated shorts coming out, that are all focused on the women of Star Wars. And so I definitely see that stuff coming down the road. Maybe not as great as a whole Blur trailer movie, but whatever.
Yeah. Before we close out, you want to tell us what your favorite Star Wars games are?
Sure, yeah. So I'll just list Star Wars games that I've played. I may not have necessarily beat or, gotten that far into the story or whatever the fuck it is. But I think, have I told the story about the arcade game at Chuck E. Cheese on the podcast? Where the kid helped me beat it by giving me all his freaking coins. All my coins and all his coins finally helped me beat the game. So there's that. That's a great Star Wars experience. That is, I think, just Star Wars arcade game, the original Star Wars arcade experience. I think they just came out with a new one, so this would be the original one. Came out with a new one for Force Awakens, I think. Anyways, so yeah. A lot of Star Wars games have great parts to them, like the Force Unleashed games, I think, have really cool stories. They're not great stories, but they're cool. They're interesting fanfare if you're into Star Wars, if you like, cool Jedi, gray Jedi, stuff like that. But yeah, Force Unleashed 1 is a good game. Force Unleashed 2 is a okay game. It's kind of a 6. It's super short. It's just whatever. Um, so there's a lot of games like that, unfortunately, for Star Wars. I'll give a shout out to Pod Racer on N64. That's a fun little game. Kind of a kart racer, but with pod racers, obviously. And then yeah, we've got our KOTORs. I haven't played KOTOR 2, even though I've watched some of the cutscenes online. But I've played KOTOR 1, and I love that game. Probably my favorite Star Wars game, if I had to choose one. And you talk about these blue ball teases with the Old Republic. They're making expansions in the Old Republic that are still connecting back. It's all in the same timeline with KOTOR. Like, the Old Republic MMO is part of the KOTOR timeline. So technically it is kind of KOTOR 3 in a way. That's why they probably haven't made a straight up KOTOR 3. Which is, obviously very confusing because that's old canon and that's not technically canon, but they're still making new expansions that are connected to that story. So it's weird balance there, but at least the KOTOR experience is still going in some capacity. Other Star Wars games, I'm trying to think here. Give me some examples here. I haven't played... Oh, Battlefront, of course. So, the new Battlefront's cool. I enjoy it. I've played it a decent amount. The old Battlefront games, of course, are very special. 1 and 2, I would say I played a ton of, both on console and then the PSP version of 2. Yeah, it was different, but it wasn't as good, but it's still totally fun, still totally awesome. And then my brother Jackson still has Battlefront 2 running on the PS2 over at my mom's house. I played that like within the last 6 months with him, so love some Battlefront as far as classic Battlefront, I should say. And I am excited for 2, the new 2. Even though I was talking about, I don't think they would call this new one 2, because then you're going to have 2 Battlefronts and 2 Battlefront 2s, but, whatever. There's a fucking Battlefield 1 now, so who knows, but, yeah. Love Star Wars games. I am very excited about the future. The Amy Hennig game looks cool. I hope it has better gameplay than Uncharted, even though it's not going to be like lightsaber stuff, which I'm cool with. But I'm totally down with her storytelling. And then, yeah, I talked about Battlefront 2 coming up. I'm really excited about the games we don't know about, which are in the pipeline, which are happening, which are, probably going to be like big single-player awesome games, maybe big single-player RPGs that are long, like, Horizon type long. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Also, think about this, and this is a complete slide at EA. The great thing about having Respawn work on a Star Wars game is that they can make another quality product, and if you make the stupid scheduling mistake you made with Titanfall 2, it'll still actually sell because it's Star Wars.
That game, I'm definitely excited about it because it's Star Wars, but obviously we know zero zip, except it is made by Respawn. That's the only thing we know. So I'm I wouldn't even say cautiously optimistic. I'm optimistic about that one. We just need to...
One of the biggest things we talk about is lineage with video game developers, and like they made COD 4, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
Sure.
The original Titanfall was a fantastic game. Sucks that it was a console exclusive. Titanfall 2 was also a fantastic game, and that game got screwed over as well because of its release schedule. Like, but those games on their own are fantastic games. They maybe haven't sold well, but I don't think it's entirely Respawn's fault because they've crafted really, really good products. So working on a Star Wars game is awesome, and I can't wait.
It's a pretty good chance, obviously, that their game will just be, a 10 to 12 hour first-person shooter with a big online component. Even though that's kind of Battlefront's already taken that spot, but that's really their bread and butter. So what do you think about that? Are they going to make, some
They're making
third-person
a Boba Fett
RPG?
Game.
You think they're making the Boba Fett game, so is it going to be first-person shooter or what?
Yeah, I think it's going to be first-person.
Republic Commando style?
I think it's going to be first-person, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they could even do stuff because they're so good at making multiplayer where you jump into something else you control, they can do stuff where you hop into the vehicles. Like, that's one thing that Battlefront doesn't really have, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, you're a character and then you hop in. You can control them, but it's like, it's a disconnect because you're like the character and then you hop into this plane and it's like a completely different person, you know? So they can work around it. That's going to be interesting to see what they do.